Good evening, everyone. What a great evening it is. In fact, we have more news than we can possibly fit into a 20-minute segment, including a $1 billion week to celebrate in the world of space funding. All this and our guest, AI critic and corporate AI trainer, Chip Joyce, coming soon. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. And as always, this show is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what do? Well, we champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space adjacent enterprises worldwide. Our pitch events and world class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So remember, the Center is a 501c3 nonprofit. So just go to our website, cscf.space/support. Click that donate button and drop something in the tip jar. Thanks very much in advance. And in addition, if you like this show, you support this show, hey, tell your friends, bring them along. Let's go for a big ride. It's a lot of fun. And now my oldest space friend, probably since the Big Bang, Michael Lane, is also here. Come on, Michael.
Hey, man. I am feeling the age of the universe this week. I went for a long
too. I get it. Yeah.
I went for a long walk yesterday. Went to PT this morning. Going for another long walk tomorrow. I'm feeling it. Today. Since the age of the universe. So, right on. How's things? What's going on?
Okay. A lot of news in the topic coming up that we're gonna have our guest talk about tonight. So we'll save those bits for later. Pretty amazing stuff. I should look to see who's here. Let me open my chat window. And yeah. Who's here? Morty's here.
Thanks, buddy.
And so we got that going. Okay. Morty's here. I'm sure others are going to show up. I know a bunch of people.
I'm going to make it. Veronica sent me a message and she's like, I've got something to do. I'll show up at the last minute and then I'll watch it on the rerun. So hey, in advance, hi Veronica. Thanks for paying.
Yeah. She's trying to figure out a way to get me in touch with Elon Musk about something. So who knows?
Cool. Tell him hi for me.
Yeah. I know. Oh, no cult reference. Tom is slipping. Well, yeah. I just wanted to take a break for a little bit. Give poor Michael a break. I'll be back to my usual self here. Probably. As spring approaches, maybe it's just the winter doldrums. Who knows? Although living in Florida, though, I got to tell you, living in Florida, my seasonal affective disorder is a lot less.
I bet. Yeah.
There's more light. I get 10 hours of sunlight a day instead of 8.5, and so that makes a big difference for me.
It's 5:00 and getting dark here.
Yep. Yep. And Jason's here, and so okay. Money. It's $1 billion day here. And so, well, I know it's $1 billion. I got $1 billion a week this week. Okay.
Hardly anything last week. And this week it's close to $1 billion. $1.7 billion. Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, right. It's about $1.7 billion.
Sorry, $1.5 billion. Sorry, I said $1.5 billion. $1.7 billion. $1.5 billion. I don't know why I'm stuck with that, but it's about
it's a lot of numbers.
Yeah.
A lot of numbers. And the $1 billion of it is about half of it is Eutelsat.
Yeah.
They did a French-backed ECA financing, and they got €1 billion. That's actually over $1 billion. So $1.2 billion for exact. Right. I got an export credit agency financing package to fund 440 replacement satellites for OneWeb.
You don't hear that much about OneWeb. I mean, not in the US. I don't hear that much about it. So I forget that it exists.
I know they're always like Avis as opposed to Hertz. all you hear about is all you hear about is Hertz. You hear about SpaceX. You hear about Starlink, and then but OneWeb's been around just about as long,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a big hit, and then they had to come back
Mm-hmm.
because and that hit came from SoftBank.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
They lost about I don't know, $500 million or something off of SoftBank. And then they had to circle around and redo things and came back, and now they're getting the money again. And then Eutelsat picked them up, and so somebody saw something there somewhere, and they're doing it.
Any of those big legacy constellations, with what's coming next, they're all super well positioned. We talked about the lawfare element of this of infrastructure. They're pre-positioned to build out and expand, like because they got first mover advantage. They can grow. So it doesn't matter if you got an old, decrepit, beat down satellite, you've still got an operational orbit, and people will want that. So yeah, I would like to be OneWeb these days. That's a great place to be right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm skipping around a little bit because I realize the things. When I first set the order, this is shit the way I like to see it. I thought it was cool, but I realized there's a lot of money here. So let's skip ahead and go with the money first. And the next one, of course, is Stoke. You are stoked on Stoke. I know you.
Yeah, you know I am.
Their total package now is $860 billion.
Right.
So there's the other half of the week right there.
Right. That's 350 new money on top of the 510 that they had a couple just at the end of last year.
So we it all counts as one Series D.
Yeah, right. They're lumping it all together, but we counted that $500 million last year, and so we're only going to count this as 350, as if that's a big drop. But it's yeah.
But it says right there they've raised 1.34 billion total.
Yeah.
Bonkers. Nothing when?
Yeah. They've only been around for maybe 4 years? Right. Maybe they've been here 5 years, but not longer than that.
What's wrong with us? What are we doing?
Yeah, right. Well, we don't happen to have a fully reusable rocket where every component is designed from day one to be reusable. So we don't have that. That's what's wrong with us.
Okay. Well, we'll have to figure out something then.
Well, I am building an elevator on the moon, so
that's true.
It's not cheesy what I'm doing.
And I'm building a couple other things that I can't talk about yet.
Yeah.
So I told you about that new business plan I generated in the afternoon. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, my eyes went wide and I went, holy shit, no one else has connected these dots. Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to be going after that soon. No, yeah, Doug does have a good question. Are geo slots becoming less valuable because of the ability to launch a large number of LEO satellites much closer to Earth?
Doug, really pressing, relevant question, very kind of a wise question. People are asking that same thing. I don't know if it is. The market is definitely proving that LEO is the place to be. We didn't bring it up in the news, but that guest that we had on just a couple weeks ago, Philip at StarCloud, they're putting in 88. They have requested the FAA FCC for an 88,000 satellite constellation. That's how people are operating now. So nobody's really. I haven't seen anything interesting going to geo. I don't know, 2 years. I haven't seen anything interesting going to geo in 2 years, and certainly the money isn't following it, and certainly the architecture isn't there. So I don't know. It used to be 10 years ago Geo was considered the most valuable real estate in the solar system. It was hyper rare. You had to pay a lot of money to get it. Only certain nation states could have access to it. The island nation Tuvalu sold their .tv to the internet and their orbital slots, and that basically kept the government of Tuvalu operating. So I don't see anybody doing anything really interesting in Geo anymore. I haven't seen it.
As we've noticed, just in the time we started doing the show, shit changes. It changes a lot. And it's still changing as these next things are coming up. Now, here's one from Engadget. I love this one. Elon Musk's latest scheme is a satellite catapult on the moon. Now, we've been talking about mass drivers, since the high frontier 50 years ago. And now he actually wants to build one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Those workbooks from 50 years ago are still valuable.
Yeah.
I got a message from somebody pretty involved with Space Force. It was a message at 6 a.m. for me. Sorry, it was 3 a.m. for me. It was 6 a.m. for him on the East Coast. He basically woke up, read the news, and sent me a text. He's like, "How's the space elevator going?" Right? Like, it was because of this. It was because of this.
Okay.
I guarantee you that this stuff is going to change my business plan, but I don't know how it changes it.
Right.
But when Musk is talking about putting a catapult on the moon, that tech is well known and well understood. The lubricants, filters, and sealants are the key to that game, and so that's still pretty tricky. But this idea has been known for a long time.
Yeah.
You want to talk about and a little bit wacko crazy? There's a group down in LA, and it's my kind of crazy, just to put the record out there. It's my kind of crazy. There's a group in LA that wants to, and Rick Tomlinson's involved with this a little bit. They want to take lunar regolith, drop it into one of these catapults, fling it out, not to the Earth Moon L1, which is what I was talking about, but the Sun Earth L1, and to block 1% of the sun's energy from hitting the world to give us a chance to catch up on climate change. That's like, if Musk is successful with his plan, I bet you that plan comes to fruition.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's based on a fundamental premise that a lot of people are still arguing about. So we'll we'll see how that goes. Nothing bad will happen. What can possibly go wrong?
Right. And I'm already gearing up for a tinfoil hat session in a couple weeks. So So
I've already developed my theory. I'm ready for that day because I got one. That's good. I think it's going to be pretty good about Musk's pivot to the moon.
Okay, I want to hear that.
I got an insane reason behind it, and it's non-zero. So chance. So we got to plan that. We got to plan that day. Okay. But the next one up I wanted to share on this thing. So somebody named OHB, a German technology company, is establishing a new subsidiary called the European Moonport Company. Yeah, I choked when I read that too. To consolidate all its efforts. They love centralization. In Europe. They just love centralization. So that's why they were a natural to build the gateway so they could funnel everybody in there and put all DLR stuff in there. Now they're going to add this thing. That's probably also going to be based there too, right?
I love it. Yeah. I'm kind of digging that model they've got. It's like, okay, let's go build that. Again, we've referenced this $41 billion that Germany decided to commit to space. And this feels like, things are already rolling out. at least the ideation stage is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's enough being put out there. There was an old like just under a 4 billion envelope requested by the agency just for lunar exploration, and they're a little bit shy of it, but they got 3 billion euros instead of 3.77. But the biggest commitment has actually been from Italy.
Italy, yeah.
Interesting.
I was surprised at that. That's just like a little nugget they threw in at the end of the article. I was like, oh, this whole time I thought it was Germany. Yeah.
Yeah. And then ESA again comes up.
Well, I'm gonna add one more piece because the next amount of money was 80 million from Hungary. And
right.
I went to Hungary back in 2015, and there was talk about, big ideas, but nobody was talking about money and budgets at Hungary. So I was a little surprised by that last little nugget in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what else we got? Sorry, I interrupted.
Well, OHB wins again because they also got ESA gave them an 81.2 million euro contract for the Ramses probe. That's going to probe the asteroid Apophis in 2029.
The death asteroid. Yep.
The death asteroid.
Yep.
It's going to pass within 32,000 kilometers of Earth's surface. I guess I'm waiting for
our math is right. If our
I'm waiting
math
for Slim Pickens to be jumping on that thing, going, yeehaw!
Yeah.
Cowboy hat and all.
It wasn't that long ago that one was expected to hit Earth, and it was going to be something like Friday the 13th, April or something. I forget when, but yeah, it wasn't that long ago that they're like, we don't know, but it might hit Earth. And I was like, that's the first time there was a real chance for an Earth crossing that we discovered. Now, I mean, they've definitely.
It was because of Apophis and other asteroids like that we now have an asteroid day.
Right.
It's being celebrated in Europe and Australia soon.
Yeah.
So as that moment comes, here we are.
Yeah. So $63 million to OHB Italia for the mission's consolidation and early implementation phase. I think that's great, right? I mean, why let such a close approach go by without going and taking a really close look at it? I love that.
Yeah.
It's going to be done.
And everybody's yelling at the controllers, don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Sure. Right. Don't.
Just nudge it 1 millimeter from its orbit, and oh my God, we're all going to die, right?
Right. Well, they're using CubeSats, so that's probably not enough to change anybody's trajectory there. So, or that's part of it anyway. Part of it.
If it wasn't coming so soon, if it was 2039, I'd say by then, if it came by that close, we'd probably have enough AIs and robotics to go in there. They'll just go in there and land on it long before it comes and just start slowly taking the thing apart. And processing it into something. And so by the time it gets here, they're moving that down to Earth. Here's all the precious metals. Here's all the nickel. Here's all the iron.
Do you know what's in this thing? I don't know if I've ever seen the composition of it.
Well, usually they're one or two things. They're either nickel iron or they're carbonaceous chondrites. There's not much in between. So
yeah, I don't think I know what's in it. I don't think I know what it is.
Yeah.
I never paid that much attention to it. I mean, I'll be honest. Other than when it got past the doomsday element of it, I stopped paying attention. All right, let's move on. We got a ton of stuff here.
Another European thing. The Earth observation data provider Constellar goes to 37 million euro Series A, and so that's the nickel dime one of the day. Is these guys.
Right. Yeah. 37 million is like, well, the also rans.
Right, right.
Whereas, again, we've said before, like that would have been front page news for our whole industry and kept us going for months off of look how
Yeah.
cool Costellar was, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
We're not posting the $17 million that the Integrate Space got this week. So good for them, but their numbers are so small that we're
yeah,
not
we're not even mentioning it. That used
right.
to be a big deal 10 years ago. We would have gone, oh yeah, look at this.
Yeah, honorable mention here. I like that Earth observation is still getting funding, right? For all and in this case, they're looking at the presence of submarines. Like it's all going after maritime action, but I didn't think they could look under the water and see a sub. I think it's based on infrared, so I guess that is a signature.
Mm-hmm.
But man, how do you feel about the America's nuclear sub arsenal being exposed this way? I was like, that's going to shake some stuff up.
Yeah.
I didn't think I had that. I don't think we had that tech. I was surprised by that.
Well, now we know. Look at that.
Well, I know you know, but reminding our audience, I don't live all that far from a major West Coast's primary, I think.
Yep.
Nuclear subden. And
Everett, right?
Well, Everett's got part of it, but Banger's where the real stuff is happening. And I'm like, I wonder what that looks like from the sky. So yeah, still breakthroughs happening in that field. I thought we were mostly done with that, but here's the PhD doctor, Max Guild from Constellar. He says thermal intelligence provides the earliest and most reliable signal of operational change, from detecting rocket and airbase activity to identifying active reactors and hidden industrial operations. Europe must own this capability. So, all right, I'm digging it. I like it a lot. Yeah.
All right. And the last, I think the last nickel dime thing of the day is some guys we like, Voyager Space. They secured a new mission management control contract at NASA JSC. But we're only talking $24.5 million over a 4-year period.
Right.
But they're supporting ISS operations through 2030. So they're providing full service mission management for their ISS payloads and anchoring recurring mission execution across multiple flight campaigns.
I love this. I mean, this is so good for Voyager, and reminding everybody it's a publicly traded company now. They're literally getting paid to learn the thing they want to do anyway for their own that is a brilliant move. I love that. I love everything.
Nice gig to have. Yes.
Yeah. The new order builds directly on Voyager's previous performance under an earlier NASA Johnson services contract, during which the company successfully executed more than 50 task orders. The earlier work included waste deployment operations using the Bishop airlock, as well as support for NASA's established program to stimulate competitive research payloads, demonstrating Voyager's ability to manage diverse, high-tempo mission profiles. So good on them. Yeah, love it.
I like the waste deployment operation. I immediately flashed on Blue Origin's problems in South Florida.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, how you doing down there? We got to figure it out, Just mess with their heads a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That's gotta be fun.
Super good for Voyager.
Yep.
We don't do stock picks here, but I like Voyager as an asset. I think they're doing a lot of the right things.
Yeah. We can't do that. I don't know about you. I haven't had a series anything in about 3 years, so I'm not going 35. but I'm
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I can't go anywhere with that. I have no intention of it.
Right. My licenses expired 95, I think, so 30 years. A
Hmm.
little bit. Maybe I had it into 96, but I think they expired in 95. Yeah. So not giving stock advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the rest of us just, well, we have one more thing we'll fit in just for fun, and we should go to our guest.
Sure.
But it's in space news. Is non-venture space startup investment. It's a post-SPAC high. So I don't know why they put it that way, but non-venture investment in space startups surged to its highest level since the 2021 SPAC mergers.
Well, that goes directly to what we were just talking about,
Yep.
Voyager and the other two companies that went public, right? So that's, yeah. That this article's a little fluffy. I like Bryce as a source for news for us. I point to them pretty often, but I don't think anybody's surprised by that. I was a little surprised that Bryce decided and Space News decided to just write it up. But it basically is like, look at how much money came in from the public markets. It's a lot. Good for us. I don't know that there's a lot more to say about them.
Okay, but I guess Sean's saying the VC at SpaceCon made it clear SPACs are back. So we'll see whether they are or not. It's a little too early to tell. Um, on that, I think it's time. We have a great topic tonight, and we're back to the world of AI because stuff is going on in AI constantly. And our we have our guest tonight, Chip Joyce. He's returning to the program. He always has an insightful discussion of AI because he started out as an extreme contrarian, and he wrote some very insightful articles. That's what interested me in this guy in the first place. And but he talks about it all, the good and bad, and the potentially terrifying. But he's also a consultant, and he actually consults with big companies, corporate entities, to say how best to use AI in their operations. And so he's, and if there's any one guy you'd want to hire to do that, it'd be guys who knows where all the pitfalls are. So let's bring him back in. Chip Joyce, welcome back to the show, man.
Hey, Thomas and Michael.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay. Let's actually, this is something like we'll just dive right into it. How's that? Because this is something in today's headlines. Everything dropped in the markets today, and there were some factors involved. And Sean noticed them before the show, had to do with employment numbers, but everything went down. Stocks, metals, even Bitcoin. And it was said on MSNBC or one of those. A lot of it was investor concern on what they call the negative side of the AI build out, which they are claiming threatens to disrupt the business models of entire industries and threatens massive unemployment. So, Chip, have the Luddites invaded, or are these fears reasonable?
Well, I'll take it in two ways. One is I think there are a lot of hacks who always have the answer for why the stock market moved or any asset price moved for the day. And it's not that simple. So, I think you have to take all of that with a grain of salt. About the Luddites, yes, I think there is a Luddite movement. I don't know how that correlates to the repricing of assets today. I do think that there has to be concern that there's so much investment in AI, and the just a handful of companies are moving the stock market, and all the profitability is in it, and we're so leveraged toward the large language model companies and Nvidia and all the massive hundreds of billions approaching $1 trillion in investment that might be an overinvestment or malinvestment. So I think there's reason to be skittish. There are things that, I made a list of things that have changed since we last spoke in the AI world. And I
Okay.
think that there's some really interesting things that have happened since then. And the world is looking a lot different than I think it did just 3 or 4 months ago, where at that
Mhm.
point I would say that it was obvious that there were a handful of the foundation models that were going to suck up all the capital and all the oxygen, and everybody else is going to be left out. And it's all brute force. So the more money you have to purchase compute, the more you're going to have market share. And I don't think that's a certainty now. I think there's a lot of doubt, even in the past 2 months, that that's actually what's going to happen. And then that we're going to have to pull back on a lot of that and rethink on a sort
Mhm.
of macro level of where AI is going. And this isn't really a surprise to me because the last time I spoke, my main concern, as a quote AI critic, is we're putting all our eggs in one basket. And there are fundamental questions that weren't being addressed about what the essence of the architecture is, specifically in large language models. And there are inherent problems with large language models. They
Mhm.
are nearly magical as a user, an individual user, Michael, right? I mean,
Right.
it really
Yeah.
is. And I can understand from a user's perspective that seems like they're getting very close to artificial general intelligence, which nobody can really define, but something that is human like, right? And
Right.
and so the idea at the time, or for the past year and a half, has been just spend a ton more money, train more data. We're running out of data, but somehow find more data to train, and and be able to basically just create orders of magnitude more compute somehow, and that's going to get us to have this, quasi human intelligence. I mean, that's basically what the whole approach has been. And just briefly, what happened is, I don't have a long history in machine language or AI. I was a business operator and entrepreneur, and in the year roughly, let's say 2024 to 2025, I invested heavily into AI for a company I was the COO of, and there were certainly some amazing successes in productivity. But there also were a lot of things that, as we got more ambitious, projects completely blew up. And
Oh.
and in retrospect, what I can say is what worked best was an individual using AI to help them on their work. And when we started to try to solve something more at an enterprise level,
Mhm.
things
Right.
didn't work. And
Okay.
and then what happened is I spent the last 6 months of last year talking to, I don't know, 100, 150 people who are really on the cutting edge of AI. These are academics, innovators, entrepreneurs, investors. I was just reaching out to everybody to try to get my head around what was really going on, because I felt like there was a lot of hype and a lot you just can't listen to Sam Altman and understand what's really happening. He's raising capital, and I think he has ethical issues too. But so I got into this, and then I started writing on LinkedIn, and that's how Thomas came across me, is because
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not really an expert, but I've spent a ton of time with experts. And then I think that I was able to communicate this to non-expert people, business people, peers to myself, so that they could think about AI in a more responsible way, and um, and not blow up their companies in the sense of over investing or
Mhm.
trusting things ahead of time. So that's basically why what brings me here but it was a really amazing 6 months of learning from. all of these people, and many of them are doing things that are very different from everything that we think of AI as right now. And that's, you know, because AI right now is basically, we're using it synonymously with large language models. It's the chatbots that we're using.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there are a lot of true contrarians. And I mentioned last time we talked, they're mostly older than I am. I'm in my mid 50s. They're in their late 50s, early 60s. And these are people who are in AI, machine language programming back in the 1990s, right? And they have this like 30-year perspective on it. And they were very wise because they understand a lot of things that I think that has been completely ignored or lost by the large language model investments and the innovation. And so I sort of went down these rabbit holes of what's wrong with them and what's next. What's the future going to be with AI? And I don't think it's going to be zero LLMs. That's not my point. But I think that that's not, like, what we're doing right now is not going to be the AGI.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, we're my team is all in on AI. I mean, we're all a little clumsy about it, but it's a daily part of our workflow now. I'm writing a white paper, and we talked about like writing a book, and how if it loses the flow after a certain number of chapters, and I've limited that white paper to just 15 pages, but I have about 40 pages of appendices now where I'm like, I need you to know this thing and this thing and this other thing and this other thing, and then push it together into a single white paper because I haven't been able to get it to remember, you know, when you're on fact number 27, it's not really remembering facts 1, 2, and 3. And that's really interesting to me that it's like I give it a new piece of information. It's like, that's the most important thing you've ever said to me. I'm like, 45 minutes ago, you said the other fact, number 22, was the most important thing I've ever said to it, right? It doesn't have that continuity. And yet here we are trying to build all of these giant, Sean is like, your AI is cheating on you, Michael. My AI is not cheating on me. That's funny. That's really funny. But it's really interesting how, each fact that you feed it is the most interesting fact it's ever encountered in its history. And it's like, that's not the main thing. So it is interesting. You have to know how to use these tools. And for me, that's been trial and error.
Yeah. And this is what I wanted to understand, because I built a very sophisticated workflow, and it was multi-step, and it had Python coding, and I don't know how to code in Python, but I got it to do that, and I got it to take data and process it and create a heat map exactly how I wanted it and write various papers interpreting the data. And it actually worked, and I was blown away, and I was showing a PhD I used to work with, and she just couldn't believe that I could do it. I mean, she was like, it's not as good as what I can do, but I cannot believe you did that, because it would take me 6 weeks and that thing did it instantly. And then it started to break. Like it worked, and then it just stopped working. And then all of a sudden the heat map screwed up, and it's unreplicable. And so this is really the last straw. Like, okay, it's like, I fundamentally don't understand how this is working, because I've assumed a lot, that there's logic to it, there's memory, there are things like that. But really what it comes down to is, I love this term, I did not coin it, stochastic karaoke. And so I just think that's perfect. And it really is this probabilistic, right? It's looking for, okay, Michael, you're thinking about here, so I'm going to go there because that's where my data has the most the most directionality is to this area, and then I'm in that area, and then I'm going to branch off to here and here. But every single time it makes a choice like that, first of all, the choice is not recursive. Like you can't go back and follow the steps again. Secondly, it's not repeatable. So you could give it the exact same prompt 1,000 times and get 1,000 different reactions, and some of them are going to be very like, which is the best, or rank these in the best order, from best to worst. You could do that 10 times and get 10 different answers with really good rationale, right? And so, so you're living in this sort of like strange world where whatever you say, it's basically creating a temporary state, and then it's working on it. And then that temporary state, like a dream, and when you're waking up, kind of just dissolves. And you don't really know when that's going to happen. So you can't really predict it. And also you can't go back and you can't repeat. So the other way to look at it is LLMs are incredibly fluent. And this is why we can use them, because they've gotten to the point where they're as fluent as a human being, more or less, right? There's no cognition. There's nothing beyond that. And so everything that we think is, quasi reasoning and logic and weighing the probabilities and giving you an informed decision like a really smart person would do to you. That's not happening. Like none of it. It literally, it's not even like 1% of what's happening. It is not happening at all.
It's not happening.
And okay, so that's important. But now we need to start to figure out, how do you create logical structure? How do you create processing of novel information, right? And being able to say, I don't know what this is, as opposed to faking it, because what it will do now is give you the best answer it can.
Yeah,
right? And so right now it's like, this is why enterprise-wide it's not being very successful. I don't care what everybody is saying right now. It's not, because of problems like this. There needs to be, can you imagine doing some sort of SEC regulated paperwork and automating it, because you have all these people who do it right now. And then the SEC auditor comes in and they said, well, how did you get to this point? Don't know. Right. So this is why at an individual level, you can work in a company, you can use Claude or whatever your preference is and increase your personal output. But the enterprise can't rely on more than that. So you can help, it can be an aid for the software developer. I'm sure there are discrete things that can happen where it's just processing this form constantly and looking for errors and writing exception reports, all those things. But is that really AI? And is it really what we talk about? I mean, maybe it's a subtype of, but that's not what, when we talk about AI, we want something that's making inferences, that's making really good, we make mistakes too as people, right? But we want something that's going to be in the realm of as good as we are, right? And also to say, okay, wait, you're suggesting that I purchase this certain amount of thing. Walk me through that. Walk me through steps. What are your probabilities that you're assigning to these decisions? What's the, what am I missing? Just like anybody, if you had some guy work for you who's really smart and crunched all the numbers and gives you advice on what to do, you could challenge him.
Right. You could push back. You could ask him, cite your sources, and he'd have to actually cite your sources.
Right. Or go, and if it's, we don't know, okay, I'm not making a decision, with what you've given, you have to go. So none of that's working at all. I mean, that's just pie in the sky right now. And so I think that like one of the things that's changed is I think everyone's kind of realized that the last big models that came out with OpenAI, they didn't really impress anybody. We keep getting promises. So we're kind of hit a wall, right? And then what's happened now is, since we last spoke, the Chinese startup DeepSeek. It comes out with first of all, they can't get the best chips that we have. They get one generation older, right? Which is still great, but they're already one hand's tied behind their back. But they created a reasoning model for $6 million US as opposed to billions, right? And that's just a game changer, right? So all of a sudden there's this efficiency that we've completely missed in the US market because we've had basically infinite capital. And this is what I was concerned about last year when we were talking about this, is because we have infinite capital, well, we make dumb decisions. If you're resource constrained and also compute constrained, we were compute constrained in the 1990s when there was trying to play Go and chess, right, on really limited compute. And so you have to get super smart because you just don't have resources. You certainly can't train on the internet. There was barely an internet, but you can't train on all the world's data, right? That was non-existent. So you had to be really, really smart. And that's when I say these older guys that I know, they were the ones who were doing that. And then all of a sudden it says, well, that doesn't really matter anymore because all we can do is just buy more compute. We don't really need to be clever.
Brute force our way into
right.
a solution.
But now we're learning, okay, China's going in a different direction, right? The day that it came out that their model came out that it was only $60 million, NVIDIA's stock went down $600 billion in reaction to that.
I remember
so
that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so I think the question is like, what's the takeaway? It's like, so we don't really know, but I think the moat of big tech just evaporated. The infinite capital, the infinite compute, we can own the world. That's gone. Already it's gone. I predicted that wouldn't last, but I didn't think it was going to be in January of 2026.
All that quickly.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the one thing. So I think brute force scaling right now, that's dubious, right? There's a lot of downside there. I mean, we're talking about the electricity infrastructure that's just not there at all. Just the massive costs right now. So, and the investment. So now it looks like it's not really even necessary. So I think that's going to be, right now that might have shaken the stock market a bit, processing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We were considering building our own model. It turns out it's like that is a ridiculous pipe dream because we don't have that kind of resources. But we instead switched over to building our own data because we have data that's not publicly available on the net, right? It's not something that can just get siphoned off. So we've got north of 10,000 files, and it wouldn't surprise me if we moved into 100,000 files. And that becomes a RAG tool that we can use for any of whatever the latest, greatest, version of Claude, for example. And we can tie our data into that model. And I think that's probably the path that we're going to have to go. But every day, like, I don't know this stuff. I've only been learning this stuff for maybe the last 6 months or so. But every day now I'm seeing, Professor ABC has come up with a new thing that makes it more efficient. And I'm seeing that there's a lot of they haven't made their way all the way into my level, right? They exist, but they haven't gotten to be, user friendly enough that my team can use that stuff. So that's one thing. The other thing that we are hitting a roadblock on almost every day is that they don't do math, right? They can do 1 + 1, 2 + 2. They can do stuff that's in literature and they found the answer, but we're trying to do pretty complex physics. So, here's the Earth, here's the moon, here's the gravitational middle between the two. And we're trying to figure out how much tension is on the string as you get closer and closer to Earth, how much tension is on that string. And we break that thing every single time because it doesn't know how to do math.
Well,
Now, there are math models out there that we haven't connected to. That's our next step. But boy, does it not know how to do physics or chemistry or geometry or any form of real engineering. And that was a big surprise pretty fast. Like we hit that brick wall going 60 miles an hour.
Well, just today I was sitting with my son who's working on pre-algebra, 7th grade math,
Okay.
and he takes a picture of his screen to explain a pre-algebra equation, and it was completely wrong. It was believable, and it was confounding, and it confused the heck out of me because I was looking at the problem and I had a completely different solution. And so anyway, if it can't do 7th grade math, it's not going to help you.
It's not good.
Yeah.
I intuitively, it seems like pre-algebra, algebra, it would be a no-brainer that any of these could do it. It's amazing to me. So I think that what is interesting also, like Michael, for the kind of ambition you have. I don't know if you've heard of Claudebot, that's now named OpenClaw.
Yeah. Yep. I have. We can build our own. Yeah, I'm definitely looking at that as an option. I don't think it's really ready for prime time yet, so I'm going to let other people break it a little bit longer. But yeah.
So we just Thomas, I don't know if you've come across this. It's just a couple of weeks people have been talking about it, but it's basically free, open source, self-hosted autonomous AI agent. Is I guess how you could describe it. So you can install. A lot of people are buying Mac Minis and installing it there, or you can get a virtual computers, or what do they call it? VPS, or whatever, right?
AWS or Azure,
Cloudflare, or somebody, and host it or whatever, and give it its own computer, and then you connect it to communication, things like WhatsApp or Slack or Discord or something, and it basically can do amazing things like sending messengers, calendaring, build. I mean, one guy was talking about how he has a podcast, and it was looking in sending emails to invite people to be guests and scheduling them and copying him on the and created a CRM itself. You didn't even have to tell it. Just thought, oh, I need a CRM. So it just sounds unbelievable. And this guy is basically shutting down a lot of his AI subscriptions to try this out. Now, the bad side is there's literally no security. There's no guardrails at all. Okay. And so you really have to think if it's going to be sending emails to your clients or whatever, this could really go south really, really fast. So, I would advise strongly against really putting it into anything that could be embarrassing or mission critical. I mean, if it has access to your emails, it could ruin your life. It could literally ruin your life, right? So but I think the interesting thing is that this is something that you could, instead of having these giant data centers and all this stuff, you have a Mac Mini. It needs to be improved, but is that your personal AI? Is it going to be edge computing? Is AI going to be good enough that it's going to be on your phone? It's going to be low, right? I mean, it can retrieve things, but that there's a bit of it there. So I really think that we've just sort of overinvested in this giant LLM brute force. And now we're going to find refinement, and we're going to find nuance, and different use cases are going to be different forms of AI, right? And so I think that's what really is going to be the future. LLMs, they exist, they can be tapped into, but I think there needs to be some kind of intermediary, which is the logic, the governance, the just the more human cognition part of it, whatever that is, has to be in between us and the data. And that's going to be, essentially the future. And then for a lot of things, we'll have our little own personal or family.
No.
It knows everything about you, sort of thing, right? And then it's sort of your own personal digital twin, or the best personal assistant you could ever imagine, right? And so I think that's very, very exciting. So I think that's one direction. I think enterprise AI is just completely different from what we need as individual people.
Okay. I just want to get in because we're getting close on time, and so I had a couple of things just very quickly. So you're building a like a enterprise consulting practice out of all this, and you publish a lot of stuff on your LinkedIn page. I want to get into like two things really quickly, because you talk about something called prediction-based and explanation-based AI. What are those things for our audience, and which is better for what?
So right now what we're using is prediction based, meaning it's literally guessing what's the most likely next token, which could be the next word, whatever, to give you the answer. So it's prediction because it's just statistics. It's all probability. And if I had 100 words in a box and I shook it up and I pulled one out at a time to give you an answer, that would be terrible. It'd be like that figure 8 or the 8 ball that you would shake, right? But it's just orders, billions of orders of magnitude more complex. But that's all it really is doing, is it's just giving you a prediction based on unbelievable amounts of data. So it comes across as like literally fluent, it's fluent like a human being. It knows English as well as a highly intelligent person, and can converse with you and can retrieve tremendous amounts of factual information. Factual, I'll put in quotations because you don't really know if it's true or not, but it's getting better and better and better at it. But there's no sense of truth to it. It's not built in architecture. It's all probability. Okay. The other one, the option is then how do we, and I don't know how to do this, but there are people researching, how do you put thought processes into it? Like, how do you replicate the way that we make hard decisions? Not just a lot of our decisions are kind of intuitive, right? We just, right? But when you have to solve a hard problem, what is that process, and how do you create a synthetic version of that? And that's completely different. And I think you have to really understand human cognition. I don't know if you have to model it exactly, but it would be a good place to start, because we're the only source of intelligence in the universe, and on that level that I know of.
And we do have a long ways to go on that, because just on basic physics, you've got these systems, they're running at multi-gigawatts, and the results are not always so good. Our human brains run at between 12 to 25 watts. Yes. And so when someone like Morty earlier asked, is there some kind of model that we could emulate of that, and how close are we? Well, we're not. Well, if you just look at the power consumption, we're not close at all.
Right. And somebody who's super smart in this, I've talked to probably like 20 or 30 hours. He said with the current model, in order to get anywhere near human intelligence, it's going to be doubly exponential of what our current compute power is. Doubly exponential. Wow. So it's it's mathematically impossible. And he's a PhD in math. That's basically, and he that's what he explained to me. So how does our, when we think of our brain, which is unbelievable, but even if you think of like a mouse, which is nothing compared to ours, we have no idea how to make that complexity.
Right.
And so, and it's tiny amounts of mass, tiny amounts of electricity. So we have a lot to learn, I think, is just the main point.
I noticed this today. You've published something just recently. I just want to go a shout out on this. It's called the CEO's Playbook for AI Success 2026. It's an update from last year's model. I don't want, I'm not, we don't have a minute to go into detail with you about that. I just wanted to do a plug for that.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask, what's the one thing? What's one thing that you would recommend?
Well, I'll just quickly say the playbook is free. So anybody can reach out to me, Chip Joyce on LinkedIn, and I'll send it. And all it is I talked to, out of hundreds of hours of conversations with the smartest people in AI, I distilled in the question is like, what should CEOs be asking? What don't they know? Because really what they're doing is board says invest in AI and then they delegate it. And
Right.
that's essentially what's happening. So this is written based on all the expertise that I gathered, 13 questions. If you ask these 13 questions and get an answer, it's not yes, no. It's not like if the answer is one way that you reject the AI plan. It's just you go in there clear eyed and you understand the risks that you're taking. You're understanding how you can explain to an auditor or board or regulatory body the decisions that you made. And if you don't feel comfortable with the answers that you get from the vendor or from the CTO who's pitching a plan or whatever it is, then you put the brakes on it.
Yeah. Yep. Perfect. I'm glad you're doing that. You're doing yeoman's work. Chip Joyce, AI critic and AI consultant to corporate America. I think it's great to wear both hats at once because I think it's very, very effective. Thank you for being with us. We'll get you back again some fine day when there's going to be even more movement.
It'll be a different world.
Maybe a few months from now, there either is going to be another big push or another big pullback. There's going to be some, and there'll probably be some wreckage, a trail of wreckage here and there that we can talk about. So we'll have you back again soon. Chip Joyce, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, well, Monday is President's Day. We have no guest as yet, but there'll always be plenty of more news that we never got to today and far more in the coming days to pour over and pundit about, along with the usual hearsay, innuendo, and tomfoolery. As always, 8 p.m. Eastern. For Michael Lane and Sean Key, I am Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.